Okay, we are live. So, mm, mm. All right, lab rats. So that was the one that I thought was really stupid. So I'm just going to do it on normal to make it as easy as possible. So the Panthers did good tonight. I did see that.
Oh shit, I didn't even realize it was the 8th already. Alright. We took game 1, 3-0.
No problemo.
Yes, we're heavily favored to win this series.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, the money line for Edmonton. Oof. Oh man.
Feels bad, man.
It looks like they're predicting this one to be over in 5. So if we lose to the Oilers, it would be a phenomenal choke and would suck ass. This is like the best that the franchise has ever been, and it's probably going to be the absolute pinnacle. Like, you know, if you can't win these, you're never going to. Like, the Cavs team with Kyrie and LeBron that actually did win a ring, even though it required a phenomenal Warriors choke in order to get it. If they didn't win a championship with that roster, they never would. That was the best it was ever going to get. It was basically the same for us right now. As I understand it, anyways.
I mean, winning is better than losing, right? Even if you don't really
That's
care
for
about the
sure.
sport or the team, you'd still rather have your team win.
That's right. Plus, it definitely feels good when you get to butt blast a whole bunch of other teams on the way down. For instance, the Bruins.
Sometimes that's the best way to follow sports. Forget the game is on, and then check the score after and see that you won. Sometimes that's better.
For real. Because, I mean, imagine real quick being a Mavs fan if you didn't watch game 1. You might feel kind of shitty that you lost, especially by the amount you lost by. But you'd feel way shittier if you knew that you were about to pull off the greatest comeback in NBA history, playoff or otherwise, like didn't even matter. And then the refs decided to get involved and completely fucked you over. Also, I learned something today that I didn't know. When Feed was on that Trailblazers team with Scottie Pippen, and the Lakers, the Jacoby Lakers, they began their three-peat, their first one that year in 2000.
Yeah.
And the Blazers should have won that series because they were a great team. They had a lead. They lost in 7. But Tim Donaghy refed multiple games in that series, including in a very important controversial call in a game that the Blazers would have ended up losing. And it was the only time that Sheed was ever prepared to fight a referee after a game. And he made a huge thing about Donaghy being crooked and the series being rigged. Everybody called it sour grapes, and they fined Sheed a shitload of money. When Donaghy got arrested, Sheed was the first person to hear about it who was not a member of the NBA's front office or the Referees Association. And they gave him his fine money back.
That's interesting.
I had no idea. I was like, wow, they legit said, oh, you were right the whole time. Here's your money back. So that's another series you can say that Donaghy rigged, is the 2000 Western Conference Finals. That should have been Pacers-Blazers.
Blazers choked really hard in Game 7, though. They had a 15-point lead with, like, 8 minutes left, and then they just went, like, 0 for 15 from the field the rest of the way. I watch that Game 7 every now and then.
Right.
It is bad.
And I do agree with you. That was a phenomenal choke and one of the best comebacks ever, which is why, when it gave us Bryant to Shaq, that was a huge moment. But that game never should have even happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm surprised that she doesn't talk about it more. Apparently, the reason he doesn't talk about it more is because he feels like he got his revenge in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, whatever, I'll just let it go because I can't change nothing.
That's
And I'm
the
like,
right
man, if
attitude.
that was me, I'd never shut up about it.
Especially given that Sheed will throw an absolute fit, act like a complete child when he gets called for any foul, even no matter how obvious it is that he fouled the guy. You'd think
Right.
he'd actually really, really throw a fit about something he actually has a leg to stand on with.
Right.
So I know what you're saying. It's kind of weird that he's let that one go. Maybe he's kind of figured like, well, the league admitted I'm right, so I already won.
Not only did the league admit he was right, they gave him his fucking money back,
Mm-hmm.
which is astonishing.
Sheed is definitely a guy who I always felt like should have been better than he was. Like, his skill set, I feel like he could have been, like, right up there with Duncan, Garnett, and Dirk. Maybe not quite as good as those guys, but he could have been something special, and he was just content being good. He is the guy who invented the phrase CTC. You gotta love that. I do find it really interesting how every time a team has like a really talented locker room cancer, given enough time away from that player after he leaves, the entire fan base talks about how much they love that player. Like, Blazers fans these days mostly talk about how much they loved Sheed. Niners fans and Eagles fans talk about how much they thought T.O. was awesome. Like, you get away from it for a little bit, and you start to be like, that they were being unfairly treated in the media. They weren't that bad,
Right.
Assuming that the player was actually really good. Like, I don't think Heat fans are ever gonna venerate Hassan Whiteside or anything like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's just not gonna happen. He gave us some great, amazing moments, and I can be grateful for that. But I'm like, this dude makes no fucking sense because we paid him so much money that we, without knowing it, basically chose him over Wade.
Hmm.
And then he had the audacity to be like a total piece of shit over so many different things. Like, and then you see what happens when we moved on from him. The different direction that we go in features Jimmy Butler, and we've been incredible in the years since. So it's like Whiteside was just a piece of shit. That's all it comes down to.
Hmm.
But yeah, exactly like you were saying. Like I don't think Cowboys fans are gonna sit there and talk about how much they love Greg Hardy anytime soon.
Hmm. And of
Uh,
course, Vikings fans fucking love Randy Moss. Like,
right.
I don't think any Vikings fans are like, man, fuck that asshole. I hated that guy. I'm so happy. I was so happy when we traded him.
Yeah. And I highly doubt there are any Vikings fans out there who are like said anything other than I don't agree with what he did, but Adrian Peterson's got the right to discipline his kid how he thinks.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, there are Falcons fans to this day make excuses for Michael Vick.
Yeah, that one always surprises me. What I've been told by some people is that black people do not think of dogs the same way as other races. So they don't
That
view it as being a
yeah,
capital offense the way that others do. Is basically the way it was told to me, which I guess I could believe that.
yeah. Well, I still wait for the day when I see a Patriots fan talk about how awesome Aaron Hernandez was.
That's going to be tough, yeah. That one would be tough. Nope. Uh, okay, it's like a glass. Okay, this is it right here. Homa, give me your peanuts and you can ride on my back. Man, I gotta move out of the United States and go to like Hawaii or something. Worms run the government. Mm, mm. So, if DeMar Hamlin can hit a game-winning shot at the buzzer, then maybe Bronny has a chance after all. Can't be ruled out.
That entire sequence was fucking hysterical. He's being defended by some overweight white woman who looks like Brie Larson.
Yeah, I don't think it
Hit,
was, but
I know,
that'd
but
be funny
he
if it
hits them.
was.
Yeah, for real. It's the most pedestrian crossover ever, and she dropped basically because like she fucking tripped. It was so delayed too, man. It almost looked like she did the shit on purpose. Then after he hits the shot, a fucking midget comes out of nowhere and starts running around. Like,
You know, when LeBron took that same shot against the Nuggets in Game 2 this year, he missed.
exactly. DeMar Hamlin is greater than LeBron all time. Oh man, made this guy really mad. I said one word.
Was it Cope?
No, he's doing a. Excuse me, he's doing a run of Cuphead where he's trying to do a no damage run.
Mm-hmm.
And his personal best apparently is only being hit twice in a playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
So he's trying to, at the very least, have a new personal best.
Right.
So he's like 2/3 of the way through the game, and he got hit for the first time. And it was like right at the end of the boss too, so he barely miscalculated. Um, you know what he had to do, so he was like really upset.
Mm-hmm.
So then I just said noob, and that was it. Like he banned me on the spot, but you know that's one thing. But like this was like 5 minutes ago, and he's still ranting about how much he hates me.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of understand that was probably not well timed, but I also understand that you probably don't care.
Exactly, that was the entire point, is that I was trolling him.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm laughing so hard. And I'm like, yeah, I know that
You should
I'm
clip
kicking
it.
man while he's
You should clip the entire sequence.
like, good lord.
You should just clip it and see if he'll actually allow it to be clipped. So, did you hear about the juror thing?
No.
Apparently, one of the members of Donald Trump's jury for his Manhattan trial posted on Facebook that they were going to find him guilty before they even met for reaching a verdict.
Yeah.
and it may end up getting the whole thing thrown out now because obviously
We
that's
yes, we all knew that that was going to happen because they deliberately set up the jury to be that way.
mhm. But they can't say it out loud is the problem.
Exactly. And I feel okay, so he just got hit for the second time, so he's not going to be able to beat his personal best, and then he just he's like, that son of a bitch. I'm like, bro, you're making it way too easy to get trolled here. I literally said one word, and you're so off your game now that like, bro, fuck, I didn't think it was gonna be this easy.
I mean, that could easily be a sarcastic comment being made by a fan of his, right? Like, it's...
Right. Anyway, do you know, like, is there a picture or anything of who the person was, the juror? Because something tells me, I feel almost positive
Okay, let me see if I can find it here.
that if they're not black, they're at the very least a woman. Oh man, this one's pretty good. American citizens paint 1,954-mile-long pride flag along Mexican border so the government will finally arrest people who walk over it.
Okay, I'm not seeing anything about the juror's gender or anything like that. And they're probably very much intentionally keeping that as private and secret as possible, so I'm not sure I would be able to find it.
Enough. But like I said, I feel almost like it's almost a guarantee that if it's not a black person saying that shit, it is at the very least a woman of some kind. But I would bet my mortgage on that being a black woman. People are apparently really upset about this as they're talking about the newest Street Fighter. It's either a new Street Fighter game or a new Street Fighter DLC or something.
DLC.
Yeah, but oh yeah, I see it. Right, they're adding M Bison,
Right.
who was not in he was not in Street Fighter 6.
Which is
So
bullshit,
they're
by the
adding.
way.
Oh yeah, it's complete bullshit. That is one of the most popular characters in the history of Street Fighter. And then they decide we're not going to put him in. He's going to be DLC. That'd be like the same level of audacity if fucking they release the next Mortal Kombat game and they say Liu Kang is going to be DLC. By the way, Raiden is DLC. Like fuck you. Like it's M Bison, man. Fuck. You can't be doing that shit. So anyway, people are really upset because one of his moves is uh he takes the Derek Chauvin George Floyd pose.
Oh, wait, I think I saw a picture of this. I didn't...
Well,
Okay.
I tweeted it to you in case you hadn't.
That
Sent you a
is...
tweet, I
Yeah.
mean.
Yes, I've seen this.
But yeah, a lot of people are like, man, I can't wait to use this against any of the black characters that end up in the game. And it's hilarious. There's this one guy. He's like, Americans think the world revolves around them. A Japanese company decided to do this.
M. Bison was
This
the
is
best
really funny.
character in Street Fighter.
Right, because he's the primary antagonist, and the bad guy is typically,
Mm-hmm.
there you go. That St. Louis couple who had their guns out defending their property when the rioters were
Yeah,
walking past their house.
the joggers.
Yes, they just had all of their convictions expunged. So as soon as the judge ruled that way, the husband demanded the city return the weapons that they seized. And it's like, they're not going to, because they probably destroyed those weapons, or at the very least they'll claim that they did.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to require a separate lawsuit to just sue for the dollar value returned to you of the property that they seized and destroyed unlawfully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear that. Hmm.
My only disappointment with the M Bison thing is that this trailer came out during Pride Month instead of Black History Month.
Is there a Street Fighter character whose special move is like bending over and grabbing their ankles?
Um, Forget her name, but let me find a picture of her real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Those who are fans of the series may know immediately who I'm talking about.
I played a good amount of Street Fighter 2 back in the day.
Yeah, there you go, Chun-Li.
Okay, Chun. Okay, yeah, I know who that is. My best character
Yeah,
was
I'm
Bison.
yes, I'm reasonably sure that her special maneuver is to bend over and grab her ankles.
Well, that doesn't work quite as well when it's not a dude, but Pride Monthers can't be choosers or something. I don't know.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm scared of Googling Street Fighter Chun-Li cosplay gender bend.
That's why no one will remember your name.
Oh, man. That is the perfect usage of that meme on account of the fact that Brad Pitt playing an ancient Greek said that. Fuck. That's just good comedy.
Uh, uh, oh, so yeah, I was upstairs because I was watching the dogs and there were no sports on, so I decided to just watch one of my Blu-rays that I've been sitting on for a couple years now. And I had Hell or
Nice.
High Water, and I'm like, okay, this is short enough to where I'll be able to finish it. It's like a very poor man's No Country for Old Men or something. I don't know. I like it a lot, but that's how that's kind of the vibe you get off of it, I think. Mm, mm, mm.
Oh, when I sent you that thing that Rocksteady lost $200 million on that fucking flop Suicide Squad game.
Yeah.
It's only a rumor right now. There's nothing confirmed, but it was such a catastrophic flop for WB's games division. The belief is that Rocksteady is going to close outright, and that's why they're coming out with this new Batman game. Is that even though it's VR only, they're trying to see if they can still have the franchise work, but just give another studio the opportunity to do it.
Isn't this the Razorfish cycle that you've talked about before?
Yes.
Well, only a dozen more companies to go, and maybe we'll have a real crash that can generate something better on the other side. Because I was watching, I watched the what do they call the summer game? What do they call it? The thing that was on
I want to
yesterday.
say I want to say Game Fest, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Let me
whatever it's
check.
called, it might be called like summer game showcase or whatever. And it's weak, man. It is not good. I am not into very much of what they showed at all. And I think the guy who runs Summer Game Fest or Summer Game Showcase, whatever the hell it's called, even kind of admitted, like, yeah, it's going to be a slow year. It's going to be mostly indie games. And it was.
Yes, that's what the name of it is. Summer Game Fest, the live video game event organized and hosted by Jeff Cayley,
Hmm.
who is a big time piece of shit.
Isn't
The
he the guy who gave like an award to Boogie several years ago, and it was just like an award for like being a good person? Like Boogie went to Summer Games Fest and got an award from them for being like a good representation of their community, and now he probably wants to like go to his house and take it back because it's such a incredibly bad look.
yes, um, Boogie was invited to the 2019 Game Awards where he received something.
And that was after he started to lose his fucking mind, though. That was so stupid.
Oh, sorry. Um, Give me a second here.
Yeah, if it was 2019, then that's actually Jeff's fault.
Give me a second. Because I think the timeline might have been crossed, and it was just they'd invited him back, but that wasn't the year that he got the award. I'm checking.
Hmm. But yeah, what a
The very first year of the Game Awards was 2014, which Jeff had headed the development of because he was like the most senior person returning from the Spike Video Game Awards. It used to be the Spike TV Video Game Awards because they were the only network that wanted to even bother with this shit.
hmm.
And in that inaugural year, um, there was an award for Content Creator of the Year, and the presenter of the award was Boogie.
Okay. Well, that is a big oomph.
Then in 2016, he gave that same award, or rather, the Trending Game of the Year award was given to Boogie.
Hmm.
So yeah, Trending Gamer of the Year. Then in
Now,
28,
now he doesn't even play
Ninja
games.
for real. And Boogie was invited just to be in the crowd for that one.
They still have to give. It's a big deal because they have to give him 3 seats. But like, was there anything at Summer's Game Fest this year that like looked really interesting to you personally?
I was keeping an eye out for things because there were a couple of things that looked pretty good, but most of it was just single player stuff.
Hmm.
And upon closer inspection, it looked like a lot of slop.
Hey, Control. I'd have called in before, but I was so fucking bored I couldn't bring myself to talk. But here I am. You happy now? Huh?
Like,
I was really interested in that the new Batman game until they were like, "Oh, it's VR only," and I'm like, "You finally do a sequel to Arkham Origins," and then
boner
God, that
equal
sucks so
gone.
much. Yeah.
Because how much does that headset cost? It's still probably like $400, right?
Well, it's not just that you got to do that. It's specifically only for MetaQuest 3, and I don't even know how much that one is. But if you have an Oculus
Hmm.
or like anything else, you're screwed.
Like, unironically, that Viscera cleanup detail game that you linked me to earlier looks more interesting than almost everything I saw there, except
Yeah.
maybe the Alan Wake DLC. And by the way, I actually watched Darkside Phil play through the Alan Wake DLC today. It took him less than 3 hours to beat the whole thing. So even that's only.
And if it only took him, if it took him that long, then like a regular person to get done with it in 40 minutes.
I mean, that's probably true, not only because he's stupid, but because he's a streamer and he wants to explore everything, so he's showing his viewers as much of the game as possible. So he tends to take much longer to do things than the average gamer. You're correct. You're right.
Right.
So, like, and I think it still costs $16, even if you bought this the season pack or whatever it's called, because I guess games are doing this thing now where you buy like the premium edition, and with the premium edition comes the season pass. So you think you would just get the DLC for free when it drops, but no, now they're doing this thing where it's like, well, no, that was only for season 1. You still have to pay extra for season 2.
That makes sense. That's super gay. Holy fucking shit.
What up?
MetaQuest 3 with a 128 gigabyte capacity,
Hmm.
which is astonishing to me because you know how large this shit is these days.
Hmm.
And you have to get for the MetaQuest 3 its own fucking storage system. So just 128 gigs, $500.
Mm. Yeah.
For
That ba-
half a terabyte, $700.
well, they better hope that Batman game is really good. Although, that being said, I don't think the Half-Life Alyx game moved a lot of people to VR as being the wave of the future. And that game is supposedly excellent.
Yeah, hi. I want a large family pizza with pepperoni, cheese, and mushrooms. Maybe a six-pack of beer. Security camera.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong. If they showed something like Elder Scrolls 6 or Fallout 5 at the Summer Game Fest, I wouldn't have the most positive impression of those games as well. I'd assume, like, oh, they're probably gonna go the way of slop. But it would have been more exciting than this.
Yes, no, I completely agree with you. And that's it's one of those things where like the reputation and the prestige for this event isn't there yet. But the thing is, this basically has replaced E3 because E3's dead. So this is the opportunity for the games industry as a whole to come together and say, look at our shit. Considering how much the entire industry is struggling, they should all get on board and be like, hey, look at our shit. So I really think that this truly is a case of they're doing everything that they can, and this really is the best that we've got, and that's all it is a bunch of slop and a ton of rehashed, recycled ideas for indie games. No, you guys don't understand. This one is a depression storyline platformer where I wrote the story about how much I hate my dad, and this time the main character's animal companion is actually a coyote.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you fucking Christ, dude. There's so many of those. No, you guys don't understand. I did this one in 8-bit. It's just so slop.
It's amusing to me some people speak as if indie is a genre. Indie is not a genre. It's not like people are going to go like, oh, it's an indie game. That means I'm interested in it automatically. No, it's like an indie game can be any kind of game that may or may not be interesting to somebody. That Killer Bean game actually looked pretty good. It looked like Duke Nukem or something. I don't know if you saw the trailer for that one or not. It was called Killer Bean. It looked like
I did not.
yeah, it looked like Duke Nukem.
But yeah, that's pretty disappointing.
I miss E3 though. When I was a kid, E3 was so hype. Every year there would be amazing stuff.
It's not because of E3. It's because the industry was in better shape back then. Really, guys? That actually, and that's what bugs the crap out of me, is that that's the point. But enough of this flop. I'm watching a video right now. Everything announced at Summer Game Fest 2024. They're doing a retro, and again, that's another fucking thing like automatic gag reflex.
Mm-hmm.
A retro arcade style multiplayer beat 'em up side scrolling adventure of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's like, did you ever play the Double Dragon games?
Those are side-scrolling beat 'em ups, right?
Yes.
I did not play that one. I played a little bit of Ninja Turtles. I didn't play Double Dragon.
They're basically all the same, you know. If you've played one side-scrolling beat 'em up, you've played them all, and that's it. Is they're making a retro side-scrolling beat 'em up where the aesthetic looks like this is a game that came out in the '90s. But like, are you fucking kidding me? Why do we need that? Why did you think that this was a good idea? You know what would be really neat? How about a side-scrolling action-adventure beat-'em-up game where you use a modern engine so that we can see what we're capable of at this point? This is a game that it looks like I could have played on my fucking Game Boy Advance 20 years ago.
And a game you could play on your phone right now.
Bro. And because we're scraping the bottom of the barrel, Lego Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, I was a
That
little...
needed to be a game for some reason.
Might be okay, though. but it's a very weird concept to me. I'm not really sure what to say about it.
Well, I'm amused by in the cutscene, the Aloy Lego character is more attractive than her actual representation in the games.
Okay. So I'm looking at the overview for E3 2003. Some of the games shown at E3 2003: Doom 3, Half-Life 2.
I was about to say this one's not fair because you're going to talk about the 2004 set of releases.
Yeah, Half-Life 2, Doom 3, Call of Duty, Jak and Daxter 2, Ratchet and Clank 2, Gran Turismo 4, Halo 2, Fable, which I know was a disappointment, but you know, it was a
One of the
big
most
deal.
hyped games ever. So at the time, yeah, people were taking it very seriously.
Yeah, Advanced Wars 2, Metroid Zero Mission, F-Zero GX,
Oh,
Mario Kart Double
you actually
Dash.
reminded me. Not to interrupt you, but I got to say this now before I think I forget. They were going to do a remake of the Advanced Wars series, and they were going to release it in 2022. But then the Russia war happened, and they unironically delayed it for a year because they were like, we don't want people to feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was funny. Anyway, go ahead.
Resident Evil 4, Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, Soul Calibur 2, Knights of the Old Republic, Final Fantasy X-2, and Snake Eater. Like, I understand this ended up being a very good year for games. Like an unfairly good year for games in 2004.
Well,
But
that's what's
every year was like that at E3 back in the day. There were always at least a few, like, super hype games like that.
right. And I know exactly what you mean because when you think about the games that people are most looking forward to right now, a lot of those are actually the exact same games that you just mentioned. In the sense of the endless fucking remakes and remasters. Because no one wants to try doing anything different.
It's like right now,
Pal World update.
I heard about the
It's
Pal
pretty
World
fun.
update, yeah. What was it? Like you know, that thing we were talking about earlier about how Dead Space 2 remake isn't going to be made, and it seems like the problem with the Dead Space 2 remake was that it was going to be too good. They can't that it almost seems like that was the ultimate issue that held it back. It's like, "Oh, we can't make a good game."
Right.
That's not what we do. We
They
don't
knew
make good games.
it's because of how much EA is struggling. They knew it would make a profit, but it wouldn't make enough of a profit. So they, with ever dwindling resources because of how badly they're flopping on so many pieces of shit, they just said, "Fuck it, we don't want to waste the money on development of this. Instead, we're going to piss this money away on developing yet another fucking boondoggle that's going to massively flop." Why?
Mm-hmm.
Then fucking Civilization 7. Not hyped for that at all.
Last one I played was 5. I did like it, but I don't know.
An indie game where the point is to climb.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
Pretty boring sounding. A mecha game which looks really like there's just too much going on.
Well,
Game looks like crap. Is this a Square Enix game? Because it looks like it visually.
yeah. At first I was thinking like, oh, maybe they made an Evangelion game, but no.
True.
Although again, they would probably just make it a dating sim, if we're being honest.
Delta Force, Black Hawk Down, as they try to make oh, that's bad. Look, guys, another Souls-like. Another Souls-like. Didn't you want another Souls-like? Oh, apparently they've been doing their plan is to make not really an MMO, but like kind of Do you remember the game Conan Exiles? It doesn't matter if you never played it, but like you're aware of it.
I have a Conan game on the PS3, but I don't know if it's called Conan Exiles or not.
I don't think it was on the PS3,
Okay, then no.
but Conan Exiles is kind of like like a multiplayer online survival game kind of deal, sort of like Rust and Ark, those kinds of games.
Hmm.
That it's supposed to be taking place in the Conan universe. So the same studio is doing the same idea with Dune.
Oh,
Capitalize
yes,
on
I
how
did see
popular
that.
the
I did
franchise
see
is
that, yeah.
because of the movies. The problem is it's dead on arrival because they announced this is going to take place in an alternate universe where Paul Atreides is never born.
Yes, I did see that.
It's like, then what the fuck is the point? Like, that's the stupidest idea you could possibly come up with. If Paul Atreides isn't born, there's no conflict. That's the entire point of the Dune franchise. Who thought of this? Like, what fucking retard greenlit this idea? Another Overwatch style squad based shooter.
Yeah, I know they were making a big
Ugh.
deal out of Valorant finally being on console now. I don't care about that at all.
Yeah, no one's gonna play it. There's that Alan Wake 2 DLC you were talking about, but it looks like slop. Yet another shitty 8-bit game looks like slop.
Watch out. There's a guard.
Crappy horror game looks like slop. Crappy horror game looks like slop. A third straight crappy horror game that looks like slop. Jesus Christ. Oh, look, a zombie game. No one's ever done that before. Oh, look. It's supposed to be a grittier and more horror-themed Left 4 Dead style thing. That's not gonna suck. Wow. How do they keep making total... And yep, here we go with the fucking VR-only Batman game, which was supposed to be a big announcement, and then immediately everyone stopped caring because it's VR only. It's not even it's VR only, you know? Because there are enough people that have VR systems to where that might have made sense. It's only on MetaQuest 3, this specific VR. That is outrageously stupid. What were they thinking?
That's I think Mr. Krabs knows the answer to that. Like even I remember one E3, one of the minor games that was being introduced was Beautiful Joe, which was by no means some major AAA earth-shattering release, right? But
Still an all-timer. Yep.
even that would probably be, if that were at that E3, that would probably be more exciting than everything they had. That would probably be their tentpole this year.
I feel like Beautiful Joe was a game that was way ahead of its time. Because people really like very difficult games right now. If Beautiful Joe came out now, it'd be really popular. I wonder if they ever made a Beautiful Joe 3.
I was about to say, I know they made two.
Series creator Hideki Kamiya has the story for Beautiful Joe 3 ready to go, but Capcom just doesn't want to greenlight his long-awaited sequel. And yeah, it's because it's Capcom, but that's really disappointing because, like I said, that was like a fucking it's a layup right now. It's an extremely difficult game. It's built for speed running. I think it'd be really popular if it came out now.
Like, when you really think about it, what are the franchises that would get people like really pumped up if it were announced at a game festival of some kind? Like, if they,
Half-Life.
yeah, Half-Life, which will never happen, so that's DOA.
Exactly.
There's
If
fucking Elden Ring 2 would get people to go nuts, but we're probably years away from that.
if you held off on your trailers for really big ones and announced it there, and that's a huge problem. Is like since Microsoft owns Bethesda now, when they do an in-game trailer to show you gameplay for Elder Scrolls 6, they're not going to do it at Summer Game Fest. They're not going to do it at anything other than Microsoft's own media tour.
Mhm.
And that's the major issue, is that no one's thinking about the industry, they're just thinking about their company. Like, remember when people used to give a shit about BlizzCon, but nobody does anymore because Blizzard's dog shit and no one cares? What a disgrace, man.
Mhm. Like, think about all the old franchises that people used to really care about. Like Halo. No one would care about Halo, another Halo game now, because the last several have been not good.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine anybody getting super excited for a new Call of Duty game, even though that used to be, top of the line.
Hmm. And now Call of Duty is like the most sloppiest slop possible. See, I don't think Warcraft 4 would be all that hyped, Big Country, because RTSs are not like getting the motor rev the way they used to, I feel like.
Number one, that. Number two, Blizzard as a whole being complete failures. Like, Diablo 4 fell off a cliff within like 3 months. And yet Diablo 4 used to be considered one of those games, exactly like we were talking about, where if they announced Diablo 4, people are going to shit themselves. In fact, the very famous meme, it's an out-of-season April Fool's joke, is because they announced the Diablo mobile game, which was just absolute utter fucking flop, and people thought they were going to announce Diablo 4. So that's why they were so pissed. Then Diablo 4 actually came out, and it was a massive disappointment.
And I didn't play a ton of Diablo 2 when it was out, but it doesn't seem like the kind of game that should be that hard to replicate.
They came out with a Diablo 2 remaster, and that wasn't all that big.
Hmm.
Lightning in a bottle, I think.
Hmm.
That's another great example. Apparently, it's coming out in August. Star Wars Outlaws.
Oh yeah.
Nobody, nobody cares. Like, absolutely nobody cares.
Yeah, that's another good one. Like, not that anyone would care now because BioWare's on such a losing streak. But imagine if they announced KOTOR 2.
Do you mean 3?
Yeah, excuse me. 3.
It's okay.
I imagine that there would be some interest. I don't know if people would be hyped because, you know.
There'd be a lot of like people shitting on each other because of the Old Republic. They made that MMO instead of Knights of the Old Republic 3. They were making Knights of the Old Republic 3, then they got the idea, why don't we do an MMO instead? We'll make a lot of money. And there's a lot of story in the MMO.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to pay attention to that? Will they recycle the content? Will they ignore it and pretend that it didn't exist and retcon all this shit? Who knows? But what people were interested in was a remaster of the first Knights of the Old Republic game. And they canceled that. Just weird as hell to me, because I'm all like, man, if I could have figured anything would have been a layup. Especially for a struggling company like BioWare.
Like, I am as big a Final Fantasy fan as you can find. But whenever they announce the next Final Fantasy game, it's not even going to be that exciting to me. So, on a certain level, part of it is my problem. I don't get as excited for video games as I used to. But I'm not going to be like, oh my god, they're making this game from this franchise I love. I'm super excited. Because I know the direction the franchise has taken. And I don't think it's conducive to the best possible product.
Right. How it is with all this stuff, man. Like, all these games just look like slop. Normally, I would have been extremely excited about Space Marine 2, which I've been waiting for a very long time. Because I love Warhammer. I love the first Space Marine game. The main foe for this one is going to be the Tyranids, which are my favorite 40k bad guy faction. I would have loved this if this game came out 10 years ago. Hell, even just 5 years ago. But fucking Games Workshop is like King's Flop now. With way too much DEI fucking horseshit. And especially with the fucking controversy over female custodies. The controversy being so massive that Henry Cavill, who is a big-time Warhammer fan, and is basically the guy who is holding on to the Amazon 40k show that they're talking about making, because he's the guy fronting the money, he's the guy who's putting his reputation on the line to even get it off the ground. And then they did this shit with the female custodians, and they're like, we need to get the female custodians into the show. He threatened to walk. He's already invested millions of dollars into this production. He threatened to walk. I'm like, you know that it's way too important to them. They put this shit in there. And if that was the case, again, Dead on Arrival. I'm sitting there like, fuck me. Like, I'm going to play it. It was going to be the first game that I've pirated in like 6 years.
Oh, you may have not seen this if you didn't watch it live. Did you see the advertisement they did for that mobile game with Ken Jeong and Chris Hemsworth in it?
I have not. It may pop up on the video that I'm watching because I'm only 5 minutes in a 15-minute video. But
All right, let me see if I can find it real quick.
I haven't seen it yet.
It was an ad. Oh yeah, Squad Busters. Okay.
Looks like Sekiro 2 almost.
Okay, so they played not that entire ad on the Game Fest thing, but they played, like, I'd say at least half of it.
What's the name of the studio that does the Souls games?
Oh, from software.
Oh, that explains everything. Because you might have seen the trailer for this one. It was Phantom Blade Zero.
I think so.
And I'm looking at this and I'm like, this looks way too much like a Souls game.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that this, before the title came up, I was like, I think this is Sekiro 2. So the title comes up and I'm like, let me see if FromSoft made this. No, the guys who make Phantom Blade is a developer called S Game, which is a video game developing company based in Beijing. They were founded in 2011. And I'm like, oh, it is a Souls game. This is the Chinese ripoff. And you can't sue them no matter how fucking similar that is to your product because China doesn't respect copyrights.
Mm.
That is despicable.
But apparently, ad space at Game Fest cost a minimum of like $200,000, and some of them probably cost about $1 million. And I'm just wondering, how is that possibly worth it to the people buying ads? Because, like, look, the ad I just sent you, they probably spent several million on because of the people they got in it.
Chris Hemsworth alone would have asked for that much to show up in it, yeah. And I'm looking at this video here, and the comments are turned off, and I'm all like, 3 guesses why.
Oh yeah, the Mufasa trailer that came out about a month ago, I'm proud to say that I contributed to Disney turning the comments off on that thing.
Oh man, you posted the N-word?
No, I posted dumb, unfunny memes on it that are still funny to me, damn it. Everyone was posting, nonsense lines in the trailer comment section, like, the best part was when Mufasa said, "I don't got friends, I got family," and then hit the Nas button. Or, the best part was when Scar said, "I am inevitable," and then Mufasa said, "and I am Mufasa." Shit like that, right?
Yeah.
When you're making fun of slop, you just merge all the slop together.
Right. There were Morbius posted.
Yeah. So then I said the best part was when Masato kissed Mufasa on the lips and said that was a grown-up kiss. We'll do the rest when you get back.
Right. Well, it turns out not only penguins are winning in the 21st century, lions too.
And Disney got sick of it, so eventually they just turned off the comments. Because that's all anybody was doing, except for the shills being like, I don't understand the negativity, man. This looks awesome. I can't wait to see this. Yeah, I heard about that, David. Yeah, the players cannot possibly be unhappy about it.
Sniper! Sniper! We're overrun!
Yeah, that's Ken Jeong, Chris Hemsworth, Christina Ricci, and I don't know who the others are off the top of my head. But they're definitely, you know, celebrities of some kind, or else they wouldn't be there. And I'm
God
just...
damn it, Grok's doing its thing where it's like, I don't wanna write smut.
Well, you gotta stop writing thick, fragrant bush, man. It, you know, it has a line that it doesn't want to cross.
You're right.
You kiss your dad on the lips? I really hope they never have Pym lose his idealistic nature. That'd be so disappointing.
Well, that was the funny thing, is they only did once in the very first episode, and then he became Moldering Pym.
Yeah. And, like, Charlie isn't that cynical. I know that, like, every character description you read about Charlie is like, oh, he's the cynical foil to Pym, but he's really not. He's just normal.
And that's what I try to tell people. I've never described Charlie as being the cynical guy. I describe him as the straight man.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what he is.
Keep going like that, and we'll have this sorted in no time, yeah? Keep earning victories, friends.
You okay?
Make it glorious, make it beautiful.
Never do they let up. Another attack on
I have to just say that this is good enough. Because I'm tired of trying with this fucking thing, so...
Thick, fragrant bush.
Exactly.
How's that feel? Got the shield.
under control, friends.
Hello, but I'm not sorry. I saw the devil. stuck in a... They're stuck in a loop of empty dopamine rushes. I was just wondering if you wanted to hang out and smoke weed and fill our bellies with diet soda. I hope the landlord comes back at some point. That's a fun character.
I killed the sniper! Come on, follow me!
Good work. Let's move out.
It's not good enough. Need...
Fucking payday, motherfuckers!
Alright. We have now done every single contract in the game. At least once. Ah. And of course that includes DLC. Oh yeah, Rome Total War was also at that E3. So was Spider-Man 2. The original Spider-Man 2. The one that was like the GTA clone. That game was great. Be right back, guys. Okay, I am back. Like, let me throw a hypothetical out there. If they announced a new Doom game, is that something that would get you excited, Snacks? I'm sorry, not Doom, Quake. Quake.
Wake. It's hard to say. I would want to say yes, but it's hard for me to imagine because a lot of like titans of the industry who made like a lot of that amazing shit, it's been too long. So it's either not going to be the same, or it'll just be slop.
Kiddos are going
Mm-hmm.
to go bosses when they see what we're after.
That's how it is with too many things, I feel.
In droves. So keep your eyes peeled. Get ready, friends. We're almost at the target site. Great. We got our quarry. Now, make sure the job stays secure. 10.
So the cops want to play with us today.
Show those donkeys.
I figure you'd be excited for another Doom game, of course. Like, I think that's a no-brainer. But something like Quake.
I would play it. I would definitely play it, but Eternal really disappointed me.
Mhm. But even that, I don't think was a bad game. I just wish
It
they
was
didn't do
it
all the
wasn't a bad
platforming
game.
stuff.
Yeah. So it just becomes a question of what lessons they would learn from the game.
You got snipers.
Gosh.
Like, Quake is something that hasn't been relevant in what feels like 20 years.
Yes. I mean, I think Quake 4 came out and was the launch title for the 360, so I think that's pretty dead on.
Mass Effect 4, yeah, there's no way a Mass Effect 4 would be any good. I refuse to. I very much doubt that.
Everyone involved with the franchise that made it so good in the first place left. That's why, like, believe me, Andromeda was a huge game for BioWare. And if they had the ability to get people who were competent
Hmm.
to work on that game, it would have. Instead, they had to get their retarded little brother studio to make it for them, and it was a huge flop that cost the studio a ton of money and reputation. Things haven't gotten better for BioWare in the 6 years since. Mass Effect 4 is gonna suck.
They probably won't make it at this point, I would assume. I would never expect Mass Effect 4 to get made.
Well, that's the thing is they are working on it. They released a trailer to announce that they were working on it.
Oh, really?
I think 2 years ago now. They've already sunk a lot of resources into making it. So if it got canceled at this point, BioWare, wrap it up. I'm not saying the game's not going to get made. I'm saying the game's going to suck.
Mm-mm. Okay, makes sense.
Keep your eyes on the hostage.
Fuck, I can't see.
You let them take the hostage, you jobs. It's over. We've got to get you out of
That was a disaster.
there. We were so close, friend.
If there's any one constant I can say is going on in the video games industry these days, I would say that this. Companies are not learning any lessons from their failures.
Target site.
Hmm.
And they're definitely not learning any lessons from the failures of others.
Make sure the job stays secure. Anytime now.
Because, like, it's 2024,
Smoky on sight.
right?
Yeah.
The reasons that the Suicide Squad game flopped are not new concepts. They've been well known and very commonly discussed for many years. The problem is that the studio thought they were smarter than everyone else, and that's why they lost $200 million and Rocksteady's going to go bankrupt.
They're sending in gas cloakers along with this group.
Guess how many pregnant teens said the same thing?
All right. You know, like Back for Blood's a perfect example. Studio thought they knew better than Valve, so they split off from Valve to do their own thing, and their flagship franchise was such a humongous flop, they had to stop development on it a year after it came out. And they're one more flop away from closing.
Mm-hmm.
And why did it flop? Because they thought they knew better. They thought all those other companies failed for these obvious reasons, but we're not going to fail because we're smarter than those guys. So we'll do all that same dumb shit that they all did, except this time it'll work for us, because we're smarter.
I still can't believe Back for Blood was so bad. That is a formula that should be pretty easy to find success with, you know? There's nothing to it.
Common Valve W of continuing to look like geniuses by doing nothing,
Mm-hmm.
because they correctly realized, you know what, it's better to do nothing and not disappoint anybody than it is to do something stupid and ruin your reputation.
I'm still surprised they won't make Portal 3. That seems like a no-brainer. Oh, they're definitely on it. No one takes my precious piece of cheese and gets away with it.
I like how they had that one guy who was just living there for some reason, and they never brought him up again.
Yeah.
Okay, you made it so far and the kiddos have made an offer. I think we can hold out for more. Alright, here come the boys in blue. Those...
Ha! You pulled all this gang.
Look out for snipers.
Had to do it, man.
Best of luck, different.
Kill them! Kill them all!
Desmond's blibbly control.
I was so happy for Desmond at the end of that episode, like genuinely. He seemed like a good guy.
But if it doesn't work, I'm gonna fucking shoot myself, and I'm gonna make you two watch.
Send the medic to the hospital!
Team Fortress 3 will never happen. I read somewhere that it took them like 9 years to balance TF2 properly. 1 year for each class. So yeah, I wouldn't expect that to ever be done.
Team Fortress 2 was one of the longest delayed games ever
Yeah.
from its announcement to when it actually came out. But there's no reason to ever make a Team Fortress 3. Not only that, but there's a lot of game studios feel this way, where they continue to update the game and release new content for the game and all this other stuff and blah blah blah.
Hmm.
And in the process of updating the game with all the new patches and the new content and the blah blah blah, they feel that they are making sequels by making those changes. Like there was a recent Reddit AMA thread for a Riot employee. That's the company that makes League of Legends. And they asked them, they were like, well, League of Legends came out in 2010. You know, do you guys think about making a League of Legends 2? And they were like, we have updated the visual components of the game and added so much new content, so many new characters, changed how the game is played, new game modes, new items, new everything so many times that we're basically on League of Legends 5 at this point. Like, what's the difference between us releasing League of Legends 2 and not, when you consider another game franchise like Madden that releases a new one every year, but the updates are extremely slim? The difference between the games is almost non-existent. If they just released a roster patch every year instead, what would the difference actually be?
They would make less money.
Right.
Had to say it.
Correct. But yeah, you know, that's the whole concept. So because of that, I am sure that Valve thinks they're like, we're basically on Team Fortress 7 at this point. The fucking game came out 17 years ago, you know? And like the game has changed so much and we've done so many new things and different things and blah blah like.
Yeah.
You can't sit there and legit stay with a straight face. Team Fortress 3 is like, you're nuts. Now, Portal 3 is a different story, but the reason that they didn't make that one is because they were tying in very much the storyline with Portal and the storyline with Half-Life.
Yeah.
And Half-Life 2, Episode 3, was supposed to have its storyline be heavily focused around something that was mentioned in the Portal series. This specific ship that the woman who was like Eli's girlfriend or whatever was on a mission to explore it at the end of Episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
And that ship had been mentioned in Portal. So like if they made Episode 3 like they did, then they probably would have made Portal 3, and it probably would have been, you know, less of just a puzzle game and more of like actual conflict with the Combine or some shit. Because they take place in the same universe and the same stuff going on. So they never made Portal 3 because Episode 3 never came out. So because of that, it was holding up this amazing plot line and converging universes that they had planned for the two franchises. And when you delay something for long enough, it eventually gets to the point where it basically has no shot of ever getting made. So they would make a Portal 3 if they ever decided to get back on the Half-Life storyline bandwagon. And they might, because of Half-Life Alyx, which was a big retcon to Episode 2, because they needed to address Mark Laidlaw leaking the storyline that they had written up to that point, because he felt that it was basically impossible that Half-Life 3 would ever get made. And, you know, bless them for that. So they retconned a lot of the stuff that they wanted to do so that they'd be able to still take the audience by surprise.
Yeah. You know, I
Eli
never...
dying at the end of Episode 2 was a huge twist.
I never read through the leaks for Half-Life 3. Oh, hello, True God. for Half-Life 3, what the story would have been. I assume that it ends with a lot of Jesus parallels with Gordon Freeman and him dying to save everyone else. Like, that
No.
seems... Really?
Yes, because it wasn't supposed to be the end of everything they were going to do. It was more just like it was supposed to be a transition, where Gordon's story is not quite over yet, and there's still more for Gordon to do. However, it seems like the main storyline is going to get taken over by Alex, because it seems like everything that the G-Man has been doing has actually been to get Alex on board to serve Gordon's function, basically.
Mm-hmm.
That was his end game all along. But especially when it comes to the war and all this, Gordon, after essentially the G-Man walked off with Alex to go do whatever he was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone left alive is just there to pick up the pieces. Eli's dead. Alex is gone. Gordon's just like all he's got left is a box of scraps, but he's still trying to finish the job. They somehow created a device, which was a portal device, which was the whole crossover with Portal and all this,
Mm-hmm.
to teleport themselves to the Combine home world, because they were going to say they waged war on our home world, we'll wage war on theirs, and we'll get them to leave because of that. So they were thinking that that was how it was going to be, but then they make it to the Combine's home world, and then they see that the Combine's home world is extremely technologically advanced to the point where there's like it is laughable the concept that they'd even be able to wage war against these guys.
Yeah,
Like they're extremely
didn't
right.
the first
They're
war take
extremely
7
strong.
minutes?
7 hours, but
Yeah.
yeah. They're extremely advanced. They're extremely numerous. The stuff that's going on Earth is like way beyond even their notice for the most part. And the big kicker was going to be that the Combine had a Dyson sphere, so they were harnessing the energy of the sun by having enclosed the sun in a fucking Dyson sphere. So then Gordon was going to be like, well, this is fucking hopeless. So then as like a last act or something, he was going to engage in a suicidal attack run and just ram the ship that he had into the Combine and be like, fuck you guys. But then the G-Man stops him and he's all like, Mr. Freeman, I can think of something much better for you to do instead. And then the game was supposed to end there.
Mm-hmm. The thing that I find so fascinating about Half-Life, even after all these years, is how those games, I think better than any game I've ever played otherwise, captured the feeling of you just being an everyman thrust into a terrible situation and having to fuck your way out of it. Like, even though he's obviously doing ridiculous things that only somebody with training should be able to do, they really tried to give it this feel of, like, you're just some everyday average scientist. I especially love that part where what's his name, Dr. Breen, near the end of the game, is on the PA and he's like, you do realize this is just a Black Mesa scientist you're dealing with, right? And I have been informed that he was unable to hone his skills over the last 20 years. Why are you losing to this man? I love that part.
Right. About a year ago, Mark Laidlaw made some comments. He says he regrets doing the leak
Mm-hmm.
because even though doing the leak basically forced Valve into making Half-Life Alyx, he still doesn't like it because he says all the real story development can only happen in the crucible of actually developing the game. While I leaked out all this stuff, there's no guarantee that that would have actually ended up being the game or the story. I just wanted to share what we had been working on for 10 years with no promise that this shit was ever going to come out. But it looks like I kind of robbed my friends and coworkers and the people I'd spent so much of my life having relationships with, that I kind of robbed them of the ability to actually find their own ability to express the story themselves. But I get that it's tough, but I'm like, I think in the end he did the right thing. Because if he never leaks it, then we never get another Half-Life game at all.
Yeah. He also isn't a big fan of
At
how
least
Val murdered his whole family after he did that. That's probably part of it.
Well, yeah. For sure. And then they said that Epstein did it. But, yeah. Poor guy.
Well, maybe not. Okay, maybe I didn't mean the end of Half-Life 3 specifically, but I do suspect that if they ever plan to end the Half-Life franchise, it would end with Gordon Freeman sacrificing himself to save humankind, and there would be a lot of Jesus parallels. I feel very confident in that.
I mean, especially with the leak, like I just described, he literally was trying to do exactly that as a final middle finger and a futile gesture.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Gordon, after everything he's been through, everything he's gone through in his dealings with the G-Man and everybody else, I think he's got a death wish. Like, this is a guy who has no desire to keep going at all.
Yeah, and I could see, like, the conflict of Half-Life 4 being like, the G-Man won't let me die. And, you know, at that point, he probably doesn't even really know why, because, to my knowledge, as of the end of even that hypothetical story, we don't know what the G-Man's deal is.
Well, we know that he's like an actual living being that has physical presence. And we know that because the story of Half-Life Alyx is that the G-Man had been captured by the Combine, and they were holding him prisoner. And Alyx just hears, and the Resistance hears that there's some really dangerous thing that the Combine are trying to keep locked up. They assume it's a weapon they can use against the Combine, so they do everything they can to get access to it. But finally, they blow open the vault, and it turns out it was a jail cell that was keeping the G-Man in there. And that's when they do the retcon, because the G-Man is so grateful that he asks Alyx what he can do to make up for how he can repay her for her freeing him. And Alyx has been given the opportunity to see alternate timelines in the future. Because this is all taking place, like, I think it was 5 years before Gordon comes back from his whatever the hell he was going on. So, like, 5 years before Half-Life 2. And Alyx gets to see the future, an alternate timeline or whatever, and she sees her father dying. So she's all like, I want my dad to not die. So G-Man was like, okay. So then they retconned it, and Eli's alive. And then that was the end of Alyx, is that we switched from Alex's point of view to Gordon's, and Eli's alive. It's the end of episode 2, except Alyx is gone, Eli's not dead, and then he just hands Gordon a crowbar and he says, we got work to do.
Yeah, I think I read the synopsis of um, Half-Life Alyx a long time ago,
Yeah.
but I had forgotten most of it. I don't know if I like that, though. Kind of feel like Eli dying was something that was, valuable to the direction of the franchise.
The only way to know for sure is to see where they're going by finishing the story, and that'll never happen. It's a lot like the argument, like, because before it became obvious that it was never going to happen, believe me, I was a huge fan of George Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series, and I have spent many years debating, oh, what's going to come next with the other fans. And it's all a moot point because the next book will never come out. And even if it by some miracle does, there's no chance in hell we ever get the last book. So it's all a moot point, you know. And I love Gaben, I love Valve, I love Half-Life, I love what they were trying to do there, but it's just never going to happen.
I know what you mean, Big Country. That series needs to be over. Who pitches tomorrow? Is it Kirby? Man, I don't have a very good feeling about that. Oh well. A rotting Pym.
All right, delivered.
Houston is half a gigabyte of Texas.
Oh, hey, somebody I'm playing Payday 2 with is streaming, looks like, is a streamer. They have TTV in their username.
Oh, that's what it was. They find out that they were very scared if somebody was in a prison cell. They thought it was Gordon Freeman, so they try to get him out of there with a jailbreak. It turns out it was the G-Man. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching the ending on YouTube now.
Since it's VR, can you, like, flip the G-Man off when you rescue him?
What?
Since it's VR, can you, like, flip off the G-Man when you rescue him?
Presumably, I think so.
Because that would be fun.
I have more ammunition if you need it.
Don't forget about those safe deposit boxes, folks. Can be good stuff in there. Okay, we can leave now. But try and take it all if you can.
Yeah, Miller fell off quick, man. He just has not had it lately at all. At least the offense genuinely looks better. Like, it is so nice to see Garver doing positive things. That has been such a relief. Yeah, I'm hoping for the best with Locklear. But I'm definitely aware of the fact that it's probably a little too early for him to do anything other than just, you know, be there. Oh my god, such a weak haul, man.
Those pendejos never knew we were here.
They had no chance at all. I don't think the National Guard could have stopped you.
This is Tua's fault.
Another jewelry store that needs a visit. Another jewelry store that needs a visit. You guys up? The new jewelry store downtown is loaded with jewels. Those could be ours. You want to pay them a visit?
One last ride, y'all.
Come on out, y'all. Texas is calling.
This one is a hit on one of the high-class auto joints in town, the Toyer Car Dealership. Gage wants us to head to a military storage depot by the dock. There's a... Keep an eye out on the alleyways. Keep those civilians down and work fast. Let's get those jewels.
I just joined this Payday lobby. And one of the usernames of one of my teammates is racist.
That's based. Yes, you can flip off the G-Man. In the video that I'm watching right now, the guy playing flips off the G-Man as the cutscene runs.
Good for him. You know.
Those are all the bags we need. But you guys know the drill. If you want more, stay and get more.
Mhm. Mhm.
Grenade! Hit the ground! You signed for this?
We got in and out nice and
Real professional, gentlemen. They don't even know what hit him.
Ah.
Okay, listen up. To get inside the vault, you need to get past the security system. Intel says that Garnet's son Ralph has the key card for it. But he also happens to be the
God
birthday
damn it,
boy.
Arthur.
All right. Remember, stay low, stay dark, and stay quiet. Here we go.
Yeah, I'll wait here. I'll have you back if things turn to a
The
shit show,
vault has
yeah?
2 security routers protecting it, and you need to shut them both down. Easily done if you patch me into them directly. Look for them mounted on the walls.
If they did make another Half-Life game, though, a sequel to Alex,
Mhm.
I really hope it's a regular game and not a VR game again.
I really need you to hack me into those security boxes.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a VR game, I'm just never going to be able to play it, so I'm
Exactly.
just not interested in.
Okay, listen up. To get inside the vault, you need to get past the
That's
security
exactly the
system.
point. I want to be able to
Intel
play it. I
says
don't want to
that
just
Ralph
watch
has the key
playthroughs of
card
this
for it,
shit.
but he also happens to be the birthday boy.
'Cause I just don't have $800 to spend on a MetaQuest 3.
Remember, stay low, stay dark, and stay quiet.
Yuck.
Here we go.
Yeah, maybe if the thing also gave you blowjobs.
Bypass the security system and get into the
True.
vault. Patch the devices you have directly into the 2 control boxes. They should be around the
You know
floor.
what you could do would
Plug
actually
them in
save you a lot of money?
and do the rest.
Would be if you just played a mobile game on your phone and went to a glory hole.
That would probably work, yeah.
Look on the walls for the router boxes. One of the routers is probably real close. Okay, great. Remember booth number and color.
Officer over here signaling for backup.
I have...
Keep looking for those router boxes. I'm working on a plan B. Wolf needs help. Okay, listen up. To get inside the vault, you need to get past the security system. Intel says that Garnet's son Ralph has the keycard for it. But he also happens to be the birthday boy, so that could be a problem. There's also a 3-part security code split up onto different laptops. 19.
So, based on the TV tropes page for Smiling Friends, it seems like a lot of people have already seen the new episode, so I don't know if it's like in early access somewhere or something, or if they're just going entirely off of the sneak preview thing.
I'm not sure. Maybe the episode leaked, or if the whole season was put up earlier and people already watched it. I don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it.
Come on, guys. Find me those security boxes. Check the walls. There's a router box right near you.
Wait, why are there no pagers?
Walls and router boxes. They go together like they locked out the code. Okay, listen up. To get inside the vault, you need to get past. There's also a 3-part security code split up onto different laptops because someone told them it would be safer. It would be great if you could get your hands on both the keycard and code without raising any alarms. Maybe pull a silent fast one on Mr. Garnet. Remember, stay low, stay dark, and stay quiet. Here we go. The vault has 2 security routers protecting it, and you need to shut them both down. Easily done if you patch me into them directly. Look for them mounted on the walls. Jack, it's been down. Come on, guys. Find me those security boxes. Check the walls. Dallas, get down. Security. The code has been blocked.
Alright, guys. I think that's going to go ahead and do it for tonight. So, we basically done everything we can do in the game, except for Overdrill, which is going to be really hard to do. I don't know if I really want to bother doing that. The closest thing to having something left would be finishing the safe house, which is just going to be, like, grinding Continental coins. Ugh. Oh, my God.
But what's after payload?
Payload? What do you mean?
Payback. Whatever.
Well, I need to finish Rebirth. Obviously, I need to finish Rebirth. And I need to finish Devil May Cry 2 as well, which is a bad game, but at least it's a bad, easy game, so I can get through it. But I'm open to a handful of different things. I'm going to go through my Steam list and see what I feel like playing.
I've got an idea for something you can do when you're playing Devil May Cry.
Okay.
Print out a picture of LeBron and then wear that like a mask over your face in honor of LeBron's deviled egg game. That way you can tell people it's sports related.
Very true. Remember when all those Pacers fans were wearing like masks of LeBron James crying?
Yes.
That was great.
I also remember when they were all memeing about how Lance Stevenson was amazing because of that time that he blew air in LeBron's ear.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you guys are pathetic. Like, let's just say, for the sake of argument, let's just say that the Pacers actually won in the Eastern Conference Finals that year and they move on. The Spurs would murder them. Like,
Right.
they would have gotten fucking flattened.
All right, guys. See you guys later. Thanks for coming out.